Hello, Froggy friends. I'm Nadine Haruni, the author of the Freeda the Frog children's book series. And this lovely lady sitting right next to me, straight off the pond from Port Frogafly, is the one and only Freeda the Frog. Thank you for joining us today for our virtual story time. Today I'm going to be reading the fourth book from our series, Freeda the Frog Says Farewell to Her Fish. In this story, Freeda and her family are going to talk about what it's like to lose someone that they love, which can be really tough for froggies or people. In the Freeda series, we follow along with Freeda and her family as they go through all kinds of real-life stuff or talk about the many different types of families out there. And we have many more Freeda books coming, where you can follow along as Freeda meets other types of families and has lots of new stories to tell. Now, before we get started, let's practice your first words in frog talk. Repeat after me. Ribbit, ribbit. In frog talk, this means woohoo! Let me hear you say it all together now. Ready? Woohoo! Good job. So when you hear Freeda or a tadpole say these words at home, I want you to feel free to shout it out loud and proud so that Freeda and I can try to hear you. What's that, Freeda? Okay, Freeda wants to get started. So now, who wants to hear about Freeda the Frog Says Farewell to Her Fish? Come on, raise those hands. So here we go. You can follow along and read with us if you have the book with you, or just look at the screen behind me. Freeda the Frog Says Farewell to Her Fish. Freeda, Samson, and their tadpoles were loving life at their new family lily pad in the lovely town of Port Frogafly. Moving from their old home in Frog-a-Lot was a little difficult at first, but everyone was really happy in Port Frogafly. One day, Franny came home from school with a flyer about the big Port Frogafly County Fair. It was that night. "Can we go?" Franny asked. "Please, please," chimed in Frank and Jack. "All of our new friends will be there." "That sure does sound like fun," said Freeda to Samson. "It does," said Samson. "Let's go." "Ribbit, ribbit," the tadpole yells, and that was frog talk for... That's right, woohoo! When they got to the fair, Franny, Frank, and Jack saw their tadpole buddies from school, Kyle, Emerson, and Maxine. Together, the group spent the day exploring the fair's crazy rides, great games, and tasty food. It was so much fun. As the day came to an end, Jack wanted to play one last game. "Can I please play?" he asked. "I want to win a pet goldfish." Freeda and Samson weren't necessarily sure they were ready for a pet, but they let Jack play anyway. Jack was a natural. Everyone watched as Jack threw the darts and popped them 1, then 2, then 3 balloons. "Ribbit, ribbit," Jack shouted. "We have a new pet," yelled Franny. "What should we call her? Mrs. Swiggles? Fido? What about Princess?" "How about Goldie?" suggested Jack. "She looks like a Goldie," said Franny, smiling. "Welcome to the family, Goldie," said Samson. The family took Goldie home and put her in a fish tank that Franny, Frank, and Jack had picked out. They made it extra cozy, and Goldie seemed to really enjoy her new home. The tadpoles all loved having a pet. Every day after school, they came home and took turns feeding and playing with Goldie. As the months passed, Goldie became a cherished member of the family. One day after school, Franny, Frank, and Jack came home with Kyle, Emerson, and Maxine for a playdate. Of course, the first thing they did was go feed Goldie. But something wasn't right. Goldie was moving slower than usual. She was shivering. Her lips were turning blue. They immediately called their parents to let them know. Freeda and Samson then called the pet doctor, who told them to bring Goldie in right away. The tadpoles anxiously waited for Freeda and Samson to return from the doctor's office, but when Freeda and Samson came home several hours later, they didn't have Goldie with them. "She's very sick," Freeda explained. "They're keeping her overnight to see if they can help her feel better." "How long will she be there?" Jack asked. "They're not sure," said Samson, "but we can go visit her tomorrow to cheer her up." The next day, everyone went to the hospital to visit Goldie. The tadpoles brought her toy seahorse and her favorite chocolate-covered seaweed to try to cheer her up. When Goldie saw her family, she managed to give them a small smile, but she was very weak and tired. Before long, the doctors came in and told them that she was too sick for visitors and it would be best if they went home and let her get some rest. The phone rang early the next morning. No one slept very well. Freeda picked up the phone and the family gathered around. It was the doctor. When Freeda hung up the phone, she cried. The doctors said they did everything they could, but Goldie didn't make it through the night. Samson pulled Freeda and the tadpoles in for a tight hug. That night at dinner, everyone was quiet. Freeda and Samson tried to smile as they ate their favorite dinner of flies, but it was tough for them too. Losing Goldie is extremely difficult, said Freeda. She really became a beloved part of our family. This is a hard time for all of us, added Samson. And just know you can talk to us, your grandparents, your friends, or your favorite teachers at school whenever you are sad. It helps to let your feelings out, and I'm sure other friends have also lost a pet and know exactly what you're going through. The next day at school, the tadpoles told Kyle, Emerson, and Maxine the sad news. When our pet jellyfish died, we all got together and shared our favorite memories before we said goodbye, said Emerson. That's a good idea, said Maxine. Be sure to remember all the good times you had with Goldie. When the tadpoles came home from school, they told Freeda about the conversation with their friends. We'd like to have a ceremony so we can say goodbye to Goldie, suggested Jack. What a great idea, said Freeda. The next day, Freeda, Samson, and the tadpoles went into the backyard and buried Goldie next to her favorite spot, near the small tree on their pad. They each said a few words about Goldie, remembering the great times they had together and the special relationship each one of them had with her. Jack was the last one to speak. Goldie really helped make our new house feel even more like a home, and we were very lucky to have her. The family joined in together for a big family hug and said a final goodbye to their friend Goldie. The end. I hope you guys enjoyed this book, where we learned that while it's super hard to lose a person or a pet that you love, you should remember to talk about your feelings and remember all the happy memories you had with them. So this book is done, but at the end of our books, we have coloring pages, some have bookmarks, and some even have a flat Freeda to take Freeda along with you on all of your adventures. We also have some discussion questions so that you can keep the conversation going with your parents, your teachers, or your friends. Check out our @Freeda the Frog Facebook and Instagram pages and the events page on Freeda's website for the date and time of our next virtual story time. Okay, tadpoles, that's it for now. Until next time, you know it, ribbit, ribbit.